Hello and welcome to the 2020 GHSA Umpire Camp. This year we are going to cover knowing the distance. Distance is important both on and off the field, and knowing the distance in today's day and age is even more important. Today we're going to cover a review of the 2019 rules, the new 2020 rules. We're going to dive into mechanics, the changes in kickoff mechanics, as well as goal line mechanics. And then we're going to finish up the presentation with Corona and the ball. As a reminder, after the presentation, you'll be directed to take a test. The test will come directly from this presentation, and we will go over most of the test questions along the way. So let's jump into the 2019 rules review. Everybody will remember last year, one of the rule changes was redefining the requirements for a legal scrimmage kick formation. Well, what exactly did that mean? It actually simplified how we officiate. Now we're not worried about having 7 on the line of scrimmage to have a legal formation. To have a legal formation, we just have to have 5 numbered 50 to 79. And then in addition to the 5 50 to 79, typically our line of scrimmage, our linemen, we can have no more than 4 players in the backfield. Yep, that's right. They can play with 1, 2, 3, but no more than 4 players in the backfield and 5 guys number 50 to 79 on the line of scrimmage. If they don't have 5 50 to 79 on the line of scrimmage, it's an illegal formation for illegal numbering. It's a live ball foul, and it's a 5-yard penalty. Well, the rationale behind this, again, as you can read, legal scrimmage formation now requires at least 5 offensive players on the line of scrimmage with no more than 4 in the back. So the rationale is to make it easier for us to officiate offensive line of scrimmages and offensive formations. Well, let's take a look at this example out of the Reddings book, example 313. Team A lines up with their normal offensive team, but with only 10 players. The formation includes regular 4 backs. The missing player is in A, a tight end, number 88, or in B, a tackle, number 76. Again, they only have 10 players. One of them is missing. In A, the formation is legal because there are no more than 4 players in the backfield and at least 5 players wearing jerseys number 50 to 79 on the scrimmage line. In B, it's a live ball foul for an illegal formation because there are only 4 players wearing jersey numbered 50 to 79 on the scrimmage line. So I hope that as an umpire, one of the progressions that you use is counting the 5 50 to 79 offensive linemen on every single down. I know last year I was working a game, beginning of the game, team came out, counted my 5 to 50 to 79, but in my 5 to 50 to 79, I had a right guard who was number 82. I looked all around the field, left and right. I did not see another number 50 to 79. Flagged it, penalized him, notified the coach to why he was being penalized. He was at all, didn't understand why, and sent his player back out there. So for 2 plays in a row, they were penalized. At that point in time, he wanted to call a timeout, argue why he was being penalized. After further conversation and a rules clarification, he was good to go, and we didn't have that problem anymore. So let's watch this video. Here we have offense formation coming to the line of scrimmage. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we have a pass to what appears to be, play it again, the left tackle. Let's get this queued up one more time. So if we look at it, our left tackle is, I believe he's number 7 or number 9. So although he's lined up in a left tackle's position, now we have to define whether he is eligible by position. Okay. Is he covered up? Is there somebody outside of him on the line of scrimmage? And then in addition to that, where are my other 5 linemen 50 to 79? I have a left guard who meets that qualification. My center, my right guard, my right tackle do. So there's 4. So I have a 5th guy that I have to find that should be numbered 50 to 79. So now I'm looking left and right to determine, do I have this guy out there on the field? Well, if you notice to the left side of the screen, we actually have a big guy, pretty big guy, going out for a pass. Let's watch this from a different angle. So again, you can see to the left of the screen, number 15 going in motion. There's no other players on the line of scrimmage. So our position player lined up at left tackle is actually a receiver or a tight end, whatever you want to call him, but there is nobody on outside of him on the line of scrimmage. So he's eligible by both number and by position. Our left guard, our center, right guard, and right tackle make up the 4 50 to 79 interior linemen. If you look to the right-hand side in a slot position, you'll see number 50 who's lined up on the line of scrimmage. This constitutes a legal formation. What's in question in this play if number 50, in fact, went downfield where he became an ineligible player downfield? The crew calling this game, in fact, made that call saying he was, in fact, an ineligible player downfield. For us, and what I want to bring out of this clip is, again, the importance of recognizing and looking on each play are 5, 50 to 79. As an umpire, we need to determine, we needed to recognize that 50 was in fact out there. He was the 5th guy. He was on the line of scrimmage. So if I see somebody that's numbered with a linesman's number in a slot position, I'm going to pay special and close attention to him to see what he does during that play. Next rule change of 2019 involved a 40-second play clock. For me, the 40-second play clock was a good change. It helped the speed and to speed up the game. I hope it did the same for you. Well, what about the rule in the past about tripping the runner? Tripping the runner in the past was legal. It was the only player on the field that could be tripped. Now it is illegal to trip a runner. Tripping, and what we're looking for, is the use of a lower leg or foot to obstruct an opponent below the knee. Carries a 15-yard penalty, and it is a personal foul on the defense. Next rule change from 2019 involves illegal kicking and batting. That penalty was reduced from 15 yards to 10 yards. Let's take a look at a film clip of an illegal kick. And a snap on a punt play, goes to the ground. Kicker feels like he has no other alternative but to kick it out of the back of the end zone. In the past, that would be a 15-yard penalty. Now it's a 10-yard penalty. This right here, with him kicking it out of the back of the end zone, incorporates a different set of circumstances. All right, what about the horse collar tackle? In the past, in order to have a horse collar tackle, the runner would have to be grabbed by the inside of the jersey or inside of the jersey plus the shoulder pads and pulled down backwards or to the side. It could only involve one tackler, and he would have to be brought down backwards. Well, they've changed this just a little bit to include grabbing the name plaque area of the jersey. So no longer does he have to get him on the inside, but he could get him on the outside of the jersey. Everything else stayed the same, where it has to be a single tackle and he has to be pulled to the side or backwards. Take a look at this clip. Quarterback's looking to pass, doesn't have anybody open, so he's going to decide to scramble out. As he does, defender pursues him and grabs him either by the name area of the jersey or does get him a little bit on the inside but pulls him down. This is a good call for a horse collar. Remember, you can have a horse collar that starts inbounds and is carried out of bounds, as well as a horse collar that could happen in the end zone or out of bounds. Well, that's our 2019 rule changes. Let's take a look at the 2020 Federation rule changes. Not many here, but a few. Let's make sure we're all on the same page as we get ready for the 2020 season. Defining team designating representative for penalty decisions. Well, so what this is saying in this rule change is that the head coach can select somebody on his staff, an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, or whoever he wants to call timeouts. And in addition to that, he can make decisions on penalties. So if there is a penalty, you could go to this coach, and it does not have to be the head coach, and he could say, yes, I want to accept this penalty, or no, I want to decline this penalty. He has to do this prior to the game. And it has to notify the referee that he's designating somebody to make these decisions on his behalf. Well, if you read the rule, it goes on to say that this person will stay in place during the duration of the game. But there's a clause that says that if something were to happen to this coach, that the head coach could designate a second coach to take over for him. So this, if let's say the head coach designates the offensive coordinator to make penalty decisions, and at halftime or before halftime he's sick or he gets hurt and he has to leave the stadium. Second half of the game, the head coach wants to designate the defensive coordinator. Upon conference with the referee, this could be approved, and the defensive coordinator could be the coach for the second half to make these decisions. Next rule change for 2020 has to do with halftime intermission. And the rule change here says that if there's a couple minutes to go in the second quarter, in fact, 3 minutes or less in the second quarter, and there's an interruption in the game, typically it's going to be for lightning or weather delay. So let's say there's a minute and a half to go in the second quarter, and we have lightning, and we have to leave the field. We're off the field for 30 minutes. Everything's okay. We come back out, and we finish up that minute and 30 seconds, and we go into halftime. Well, the referee can go to both head coaches, and by mutually agreeing, we can shorten the halftime to 10 minutes. The question is, once we have a shortened halftime, whatever it's agreed upon by those coaches, when we come back out of halftime, do we still have to have the mandatory 3-minute warm-up period? And the answer to that question is yes. Even if you shorten halftime, you're still going to take the 3-minute mandatory warm-up period. Well, next we have the 40-second play clock. It's been clarified. And this really is a clarification in regards to a defense or defensive player who is injured. And in the past, I hate to say it, but sometimes a coach may tell a defensive player to fake an injury in order to stop the clock. And then in the past, we would start that clock on the 25-second. Now, that player could be injured and we might have an official's timeout, but we're not going to take away any time from the offensive team, and we will still honor them with 40 seconds coming out of that injury. 25-second play clock, anytime we have a legal free kick or a legal kick, and we are awarding a new series of downs, the play clock will be set to 25 seconds. Simple enough. Well, here's one that's a little bit different from the past. It involves disconcerting act foul. And what exactly is that? You know, although not called often or often enough, there are times where a defensive player would bark cadence signals out in an attempt to have either that center snap the ball, false start, or one of the linemen false start. Well, that was illegal, and in the past, that foul was unsportsmanlike and carried a 15-yard penalty. Well, they've changed that, and now they're classifying it as a disconcerting act foul. And the penalty is only going to carry a 5-yard penalty. I guess they felt that 15-yard unsportsmanlike for that was a little bit harsh, and we're going to try to equal out the playing field and only make it a 5-yard penalty. Here's a big one. Everybody needs to remember this. In the past, you had to be under center to take a hand-to-hand snap and spike the ball in order to stop the clock. That's a little bit different this year. You could have a quarterback in the shotgun formation take that snap, has to be a direct snap, can't touch the ground, spike the ball, has to go immediately forward into the to the ground, and it would be a legal play where he could spike the ball and the clock would stop. Well, those are our rule changes for 2020. Very few. That's good. We don't need to be changing the rules every year, a lot of rules. In addition to the rule changes, our 2020 points of emphasis are sportsmanship. Sportsmanship should always be a point of emphasis. Intentional grounding, of course, because of that rule change, now we need to pay attention to intentional grounding and ineligibles downfield and line of scrimmage formation. Those are all points of emphasis. Well, let's look at some of the mechanics changes going into the 2020 season. The first one that we're going to discuss is kickoff mechanics. Yes, our kickoff mechanics are going to change both for 6 and 7-man mechanics. Changes this year? Well, we are going to go from covering our traditional man coverage to a zone coverage. If you'll remember in the past, depending if you were working on a 6 or 7-man crew as an umpire, you were first responsible for the kicker. We'll still have that responsibility. But then after that, you were responsible for typically the players closest next to the kicker. Well, that's going to change. We're not going to be responsible and have to follow those players all the way down the field. Well, when we look at kickoffs, a couple things to remember is get off the sideline. Our mechanic doesn't have us sitting on the sideline after a free kick is made in his way. Get off the sideline and start to make your way down the field. Well, what are you looking for during the return? And we'll talk about that more in detail when we start to watch a little of these films. What about once the kick is ended? Well, once the kick's ended, let's make sure that we're setting up our referee in the proper position and direction. We're getting a new ball, typically a ball from the opposing team, getting that kicking ball off the field, getting everybody set up and ready to go as speedy as we can. So again, change from man coverage to zone for our typical kickoffs. You see that in the Mechanics Manual, pages 41 to 43. So let's look at 6-man mechanics. 6-man mechanics, on free kicks, we're still responsible for the kicker. We will still line up on the kicking team side of the field. But what's going to change is instead of watching the players next to the kicker, after the kick is away and the kicker has been afforded his protection, and we've looked for all the other things that we're looking for prior to that ball being kicked, meaning K staying on sides, not being deeper than 5 yards from K's restraining line. We're going to go to a zone coverage, and that zone coverage for us is cutting the field into thirds. We're responsible basically from the 40-yard line or from where the ball's kicked, and typically 25 to 30 yards from that, which is going to put us at somewhere around the 30-yard line, give or take 5 yards. We're looking in the middle of the field, and we're going to observe action in the middle of the field as it makes its way back towards us. So again, come off the sideline, find yourself a position somewhere between the numbers and the hash, depending on where the ball's kicked. If it's kicked to your side of the field, I would stay closer to the numbers. If it's kicked away from you to the opposite side of the field, I would be closer to the hash, maybe even a little bit inside the hash. And if it's kicked directly down the center of the field, then I find somewhere between the numbers and the hash. Well, 7-man mechanics is a little bit different. We got that seventh official. We got that official helping out, taking care of the kicker, addressing the kicker, giving the kicker the ball. So in that respect, all we do is come down the sideline, take our position at the 40-yard line, and wait for everything to be addressed. Difference again is the field is going to be cut into fourths. We will be always on the opposite side of the press box. We will be looking at a fourth of the field, somewhere between the numbers and the hash to the center of the field. Again, from the 40-yard line going down to about the 30-yard line. Same thing, come off the sideline, make your way down about 8 to 10 yards, find a place to park yourself, and watch action coming back towards you. Let's watch some film, some NFL games. And let's take a look at this first clip, let it play for a second. So here, this is an NFL umpires training video. Our umpire is straddling his free kick line. He's got his back foot on the free kick line. He's got his forward foot about a yard in front of him. You know, that for me is the mechanic I like to use. If you want to straddle the free kick line, then that's okay as well. There's not a hard mechanic that says one is better than the other. We'll have some leniency on free kicks that are going downfield to whether they are on sides or if somebody's off sides. Again, give them about a half a yard. On kicks that are onside kicks, no leniency whatsoever. So in this film right here, again, we have a clean kick. Everybody's onside, and they're showing the umpire where they want him to get down to about the 50-yard line. For us, it's going to be the same. We're going to start at the 40, but we want to make our way down about 10 yards and find ourselves somewhere to park right about the 50-yard line. All right, different angle. Take a look at this clip. See our umpire coming out, getting to the 50. All right, he's going to take a position and observe action in his area of the field. Now, again, split in the middle of the field, so you're going to have some shared responsibility. As you can see here, there's a takedown, a little bit out of our zone, but close enough to our zone. In the way we're coming onto the field, this should be a clear shot for us to see this and make this call. Take a look at this clip from Indianapolis, going a little bit further detail about how they divide the field. And we're really taking the same approach. We have our referee and our two wings that are going to start at the goal line. We're going to cut that into a third, somewhere around the 25 to 20-yard line. Linemen, line judge, and referee. And then the four of us that are starting back on the 40 and 50, we're going to cut this field into fourths, and we will take a fourth of it from the numbers to the center of the field closest to us and officiate from about the 40 down to about the 30-yard line, 30 to 25-yard line, somewhere around there. All right. Sometimes things will change just a little bit. Let's watch this clip. So dividing the field is not always set in stone. You have to find the trajectory of the kickoff. Does it go away from you? And in this case, it does. It goes to the opposite side of the field. Well, in this case, you're probably going to come out a little bit more closer to the center of the field. But what about your zones? Will they change? Yeah, a little bit. Your zone on this is going to be forced closer to the opposite side of the field. So you're going to be looking probably about right there, center of the field to opposite side hash. But you're still going to be looking, if you're in proper position, you're going to get to about the 50-yard line, find a place to park, and you'll be looking from about the 50 down to about the 25 or 30. Well, in this case, you can see all of the blocks are starting, they're initiating at about the 25-yard line. Well, we're in a good position if we get down to the 50, maybe push a little bit more since it's a deep kick, get down to the 48, 47-yard line, and watch the things as they start to develop as it's coming back to us. As you can see right here, they're highlighting a double team. Well, is a double team something you should key on? Well, a lot of times it is. In this case, it doesn't look like anything special happened during the double team, but once the double team was let loose, then we need to follow the players as the play develops. It gets closer to the sideline. Here, what we're watching for is headhunters. You got guys that are swimming the opposite direction. And look here, we got a guy, he's got a target, and he's in no position to make a legal block on this guy. So what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, you're right. Odds are we're going to have a block in the back to spring our runner for additional yards. If we're in the right position, if we're not moving, we're looking in the zones that we need to look towards, then one or two of us should be in a position to see this and make this call. This illustration shows the referee and our wings are looking from the goal line towards the play. You can see our other deep officials. And in this case, they're showing the example where this official that feels out of position because the play is going closer to his side of the field, and they want him over. And I agree with that. For this official, if he was somewhere between the 50 for the numbers in the hash on our fields, he'd probably be in a better position to see the block in the back. All right, remember free kicks? Free kicks, let's make sure we have a legal free kick. Whether we need to have a legal free kick, touch the ground, go more than 10 yards. As an umpire, I'm going to watch from the kicker to my side of the field to make sure nobody is offsides. And I'm not going to give any type of grace. They cannot be past the plane of the free kick line. After that, depending on which way the ball's kicked, we're either looking at blocks or ball. You can see right here, there's not a lot that's going to happen in the center of the field. Once we determine if we have a legal free kick, making sure everybody stays on sides, then you divert your attention to the play closest to you and officiate the blocks and the action around the ball. You can see over there, not a lot of action on that side of the field. They're pursuing, but all the action is on the near side of the field, all the blocks and everything. What we don't have right here is we don't have not one official who winds the clock on this play. All right, earlier I said we're going to give some leniency to kicks that make their way down the field. Yeah, in this video right here, it looks like we had a penalty, and now we're kicking off from the 20-yard line. If not a penalty, it looks like this may be a free kick of some sort where we had a safety. That's probably what this is. But once we watch this clip, again, let's assume this was a safety. They're kicking off from the 20-yard line. Unless there's somebody that is just egregiously offsides, we're going to let this go. This is not a free kick, or not an onside kick, excuse me. So unless they're off by a step or two, in this case they called this on this team for being offsides, I'd let this one go. All right, let's talk about goal line mechanics. There's really nothing that's changed in goal line mechanics. They're going to change the wording a little bit on goal line mechanics going out from the goal line. But in watching film last year, we noticed that as umpires, we have the opportunity to really get better when we talk about goal line mechanics. Well, goal line mechanics, when do goal line mechanics start? Going in, they usually start at the 7-yard line. Going out, they're going to start at the 3-yard line. Remember, our wings have a lot of additional responsibilities whether we're talking about going in or going out. Okay. There's a role reversal where we assume some of the responsibilities of the line judge and many times of the linesman. Let's talk a little bit about those role reversal responsibilities. So here we got a clip straight from our 7-man mechanics manual. We're set up going in, have an offensive team that's trying to score. In this pictogram, mechanigram, they are starting from roughly about the 4-yard line going in. So we know, since we're at the 7-yard line or in, that one of our first moves for our wings is going to be to the goal line. Okay, goal line is the most important line, unless there's a line to gain that's at maybe the 2 or 3 yard line. But they're going to make a move to the goal line. So what's that mean for us? Well, now we have the responsibility for ineligibles downfield, where the ball's thrown from, to make sure that that quarterback, that passer, has not gone beyond the line of scrimmage. And also we need to see if on like swing passes where the ball's caught. Is it caught behind the line of scrimmage or beyond the line of scrimmage? Again, there could be penalties enforced if that ball is thrown beyond the line of scrimmage and we have ineligibles downfield. But we also could have penalties that are waived off or not called if that pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage with those linemen downfield. In addition to that, we need to pay attention to where we start in position in relationship to the goal line. Remember, those wings are trying to make a call. Is that ball across the plane? And if we set up or if we move ourselves to the goal line, we may obstruct their vision. They might not be able to make that call. So remember, when we're talking about goal line mechanics, let's start in the end zone somewhere. Probably, at least a yard, if not 2 yards inside the end zone. So what else are we looking for? Again, we're trying to read this play. We read a run, hold ground, try to pick up the runner, see which direction he's going, left, right. Is he trying to bounce to the outside, or is he trying to come right down the middle? Comes right down the middle and the play ends close to the goal line, then you're there to help support our wings, whether you have that ball in the end zone or not. Hands to the chest. Again, we're not saying he scored. All we're telling those wings is we have a ball in the end zone, and it's up to them to decide whether he made it in before he went down. Well, what if you read pass? If we read a pass play on goal line mechanics, we probably need to make our way towards the line of scrimmage, especially if we're talking about starting at the 7, 6, or 5 yard line. I'd be a little bit quicker to get to the line of scrimmage. Kind of our old mechanics where we used to go to the line of scrimmage. Again, we got to watch for ineligibles downfield. Need to take a look at which way that quarterback's moving. Is he going to the left or the right? And if he does go to the left or the right, I'm probably going to move with him and go towards the line of scrimmage in the same direction, because I want to see when he throws that ball and make sure it's a legal throw from behind the line of scrimmage. And then if he does a little dump pass or something, I need to know where that pass is caught. So again, remember, don't camp out on the goal line. Read runner pass. Make the necessary adjustments after you read runner pass, and be there on pass plays to help support the wings for ineligibles downfield, amongst other things. What about these reverse goal line mechanics? Reverse goal line mechanics really start at the 3 yard line back to the goal line and stuff. So our wings are going to make their way back to the goal line and work their way back out. So it's not as critical for us to make our way up to the line of scrimmage. But remember, our wings may or may not be in position to make the call on ineligibles downfield. They have other things that they're concentrating on. And then in addition, whether that pass is thrown behind or beyond the line of scrimmage and where it's caught. So work with your crewmates to come up with a plan and officiate this and determine who needs to make those calls. All right, as we start to wrap this up, just wanted to spend a few minutes. Again, we're working football in a different time, day, and age, that of the COVID-19 coronavirus. I want everybody to be safe, to officiate smart on the field. And we need to take into consideration all the things that are centered around coronavirus. So when we look at our mechanics and trying to work that 40-second clock, some things may change this year. But I do want to remind everybody, we're the pace setters on the field. Whether we're talking about teams that are predominantly run or predominantly pass, we still have the responsibility of getting that ball back out to the spot where it will be next to be snapped, and getting our crew in position and have everybody ready to go for that following play. So remember, hustle. We're always hustling as umpires. Don't let anybody ever tell you anything different. Hustle, hustle, hustle. But don't be too fast where you don't think about your crew members. Because again, plays that conclude in the center of the field, you may be able to spot that ball within a second or two. But make sure your deep officials and your wings have time to do the responsibilities during that dead ball period that they need to do. Well, let's talk about coronavirus, and let's talk about being smart management out there on the field. In the past, we would try to manage that ball really through us as officials, bringing balls on and off the field. Well, we might want to reconsider how we work balls on and off the field. We may want to consider allowing ball boys to bring that ball directly out to us. What I'm going to look at is ways to minimize the number of players and/or officials and/or ball boys that have contact with that ball. So I know for me, when I think about plays that conclude on the field of play that I feel are close enough for me, I'm going to go try to retrieve that ball from that player. I'm going to have a conversation with the running backs and tell them, hey, if you're close to me, get that ball to me. And that way, at least we only have a few players, a center, a quarterback, a running back, and me touching that ball on that play. So then I think about, well, how often are we going to change balls out? I'm going to try to play with the same ball as much as possible. Yes, there's times where we're going to have pass plays that go down the field, and it's just going to make the best sense for us to get a new ball from a ball boy and bring it in from the sidelines. And there's going to be times that heat and humidity are going to play a factor, and that ball's going to be wet, and we're going to need to get a new dry ball. Rain can come into play at times, and we'll need a new dry ball. But I want you to really think about how we minimize contact with that ball. That's the one thing that we kind of can manage out on the field, and it might be a determining factor of minimizing the passing of the virus. Again, hustle out there, don't rush. Try to have ball boys, one with a wing, one with a deep, in your best case scenarios. Have good pre-games with your counterparts and how you're going to manage the balls and with the ball boys. Testing your knowledge. So at the conclusion of this, the next thing that you'll have to do is take a short test. We've gone over all of the questions that will be on the test that you will take. A couple things just to remember is scrimmage formations. What constitutes a legal scrimmage formation? That may be on the test. Is tripping the runner legal or illegal? You could see that question on the test. Well, what about making decisions regarding penalty declaration? Does it have to be one coach or can it be two coaches? Again, if a coach falls ill or is hurt during a game, the head coach can designate a second coach to make those calls in the second half. Well, what about if a game is interrupted due to weather with the last couple minutes to go in the second quarter? Can the halftime be shortened? And does the mandatory 3-minute warm-up period have to take place? That could be on the test. What about those defensive disconcerting acts? Remember last year, carried a 15-yard penalty. Is that true this year? Is it different? Who's responsible for the kicker on a 7-man crew versus a 6-man crew? Is it you as the umpire? Do you go out there and hand them the ball? In a shotgun formation, is it legal for that quarterback to spike the ball in an effort to save time? How far do we move down the field on a typical free kick? If you remember, we're going to try to move down the field somewhere around 10 yards. There's no reason for us to park ourselves on the sidelines, and there's no reason for us to move down the field 25, 30 yards unless the play has concluded and we're going to help support getting in between mixed colors. Something else to think about is on a free kick, when we talk about K, when do they need to be within that 5-yard barrier? After the ready for play? Before the ready for player? Once they take the field? Remember, it's only a penalty after the ready for play where they have to be within 5 yards of K's free kick line. So as you're on the sideline waiting for the ready for play, those players can be outside of that. It's only after the ready for play that they need to be within that 5-yard belt. And then remember, on free kicks, what is your zone? Where are you watching? Right. We're not watching man anymore. We're watching zone. If y'all paid attention, take a couple notes down on some of those topics that were just discussed, you should have no problem with this test. I want to thank everybody for their time. I wish everybody a successful and safe season, and I hope to see you next summer. Good luck.